What's up guys, it's Drac, and a perfect shirt for today's video as we discuss the battle of the budgets. An interesting thing has happened in the market. So this one is new. I think in order of release, it might be this one, then this one, then this one. So as tends to be the case in the pro category, Dart Zone established a thing, Hasbro answered it either directly or indirectly, and then eventually X-Shot came out of nowhere with a super cheap Dark Horse. So the interesting thing is we've already made our video about this. Big fan of this blaster. The X-Shot Fury is a $15 powerhouse. And when I say powerhouse, I mean it certainly belongs in the pro category. Delivering 125 to 140 FPS shots pretty consistently. A lot of people commented on my review video, they're like, Drac, you got a lemon, it's a common issue. And I'm like, well, that's part of what this video is about, is if any brand is more likely to give you a non-performer, it's probably the one with the lowest quality control. And that would be, in this instance, X-Shot. However, whether mine's 125 FPS or 140 FPS, it's actually good for some people, bad for others. You know, 125 FPS model puts this firmly in HVZ territory, which I think is where a product like this really, really shines. However, some people are getting 135 to 138 out of there. So regardless of where yours is performing, I mean, it is an unbelievable value for $15. And then something very interesting happened. These got cheaper. And not cheaper in like a we're on salesies kind of way, cheaper in like a the retailers have permanently dropped the prices of them down to 20 United States dollars. That's a huge answer. It's like a very quiet, very subtle repositioning in the market. But for those of us who are paying attention to this constantly, especially heading into Toy Fair, it means that this is very meaningful in terms of like a quantity shipped, landed, and sold already. That retailers are like, well, we need to adjust our inventory so that we continue to move these. Clearly, the market likes the idea of a $15 Pro Blaster. Now, we can hem and haw about how the Dart Zone Solo is like also a Pro Blaster and also very inexpensive, but that is not what we're getting at right now. These are genuine pseudo-primaries within the category that are now being lowered in terms of their price point. Now, a few just like variables to compare and contrast them are their performance. Obviously, the Dart Zone Blaster has been around the longest. The Aeon Pro X hits the hardest. In my review, I was getting everywhere from like 158 as an average, but realistically, my spread was pretty tight. It was like from 152 all the way up to like 160 something. And that was with the attached scar barrel. Now, not all blasters come with scars, but performance blasters tend to benefit from scars. Is the scar compatible with the NERF blaster? It is not. Is the scar compatible with the X-Shot blaster? Yes, it is. Of note, it is a premium accessory that we used to spend real money on, either manufacturing them or purchasing them within the hobby. And it comes by default in the Dart Zone blaster, so that's definitely a pro. Pun intended. All that aside, this was the more accessory heavy of the options. These two tended to be pretty bare bones. And if you're like in that pseudo primary category where you're really intending to run and gun with this and turn it into like an SMG, it's of note that both the Dart Zone and the NERF options have a built-in in-strike attachment point. The NERF option kind of comes with a stock. It's not the world's greatest stock, however, it does have a built-in stock. The Dart Zone option does not. So, you know, looking at these, we have two that cost $5 extra. We have one that costs $5 less. This is certainly the most feature-rich, but, you know, the most valuable feature, I would argue, is actually on the NERF blaster itself, which is, while you could certainly top prime this, and it's a little awkward in some ways, the real meat and potatoes of this is that this is already a pump action blaster. Now, this is already a slam fire blaster. I like that they're all a little different, so there's no like clear advantage point going out there, but pump action is a huge benefit. Now, I would argue that it also has the single biggest flaw that might not be immediately evident, which is, of course, angled talons. Do you like angled talons? Am I alone in this camp? You know, forgive me if I'm out of line here, but the regular Talon magazine is a great geometry. I find that my darts chamber more consistently that way. And while it's great that all three of these are Talon blasters and all three of these are using that geometry, the angled Talons are not cross-compatible. So while you could definitely grab a worker angled Talon, you're not gonna fit a regular Talon magazine in here. That looks, I get it. It looks like it's chambered. It is not. It fell right out. But these guys use regular Talons. They have slightly better magazine releases in that they both have multi-mag releases, but more importantly, they take the regular Talons. Now, of course, as a counterpoint, that means that they are not going to take the angled Talons. Lots of different little factors there. If you're a real pick-penny guy, this is real pick-penny, and then the X-Shot blaster has real pick-penny on the bottom And then up top, you don't necessarily want to put it up top unless you're adding like a weird, almost like hand grip, hand stop from like an AR platform, specifically because this is where you're grabbing to prime this blaster. However, you could make the argument that this also has pick tinny, and if you're already bought into like the rival NERF faux tinny geometry, if you've printed a lot of accessories for that, this is very similar to the rival pick tinny, which is not geometrically the same as regular pick tinny. So if performance is all that matters to you, like I said, high, medium, low, these are more similar than not. But even if the claims in my comment section are true, this guy's barely hitting 140 and this guy's like 145 on average. They all come with different darts, and then again, like if the darts are specifically meaningful to you, then these two are going to be the ones that come with exactly enough ammo to fill their magazines. That's 12 in this case. This has the least amount of ammo. Least ammo, most performance. And then in the middle, you've got 15 darts with this bad boy, which is just enough to load the NERF branded angled Talon. Now, X-Shot is not shy about giving you their darts, and they're pretty decent darts. To that tune, they're gonna give you 40 darts. I was joking in my video that between the one magazine you get and the 40 darts, you're almost buying what is effectively commercialized as a reload kit. You get 40 darts and a magazine for 15 bucks, and it just happens to come with a Pro Blaster. That's the world we live in now. What a great time to be a foam flinger. Crazy. Ultimately, I think that the choice is going to come to you guys, but if you really care about darts, I think that the option is very clear. If you're the most price sensitive, I think that this is the best option. If you are performance or feature rich sensitive, then obviously the Aeon Pro X is the hardest hitting. And I think the inclusion of a really good scar is not to be missed. If you're very ergonomically inclined and you're like really locked into pump action, then while there are kits to do that for both of the other blasters, clearly the NERF blaster is the best. However, it is a wonky pump action. I don't know if you guys saw, but earlier I smashed my finger again, despite the fact that in my original review video for this, I jammed my finger and made a lot of jokes about it. I forgot, and then I did it again because I don't know. I guess bad ergonomic choices die hard. What are you gonna say? As I suspected when I began kind of this thought comparison, my first instinct was just like, ooh, these are cheaper now. We should do the versus video. But I want to make it clear that these are all the different options on the market, and I think that what it's going to come down to is if you're cost sensitive, this is the best option, and if you're performance sensitive, this is the best option. And then sort of in like this weird no man's land that Hasbro's been living in for quite some time, particularly in regards to like innovation and performance, they're just sort of in the middle. They're not bad. Certainly not. This is a great option for a lot of people, particularly those who might not necessarily understand the other companies, and they're just like, I want a NERF blaster. However, it's not the best at anything, really, within this category. It's not the highest performing, and it's certainly not the best value. So from a retail perspective, I think that we're going to continue to see these two eat away at that at sort of middle ground. But I really want to know you guys' thoughts. Do you own all these blasters, any of these blasters? And in particular, if you've only purchased one of these blasters, I'd like to know which one you bought and why. I think that's really relevant for me going into some of my meetings at Toy Fair to understand you guys to the best of my ability. Because I get analytics and all sorts of data, but I still read every single comment that you guys write. If you want to influence the hobby or the shelf space through the lens of, I guess, my communications at trade shows, then I really want to give you guys that voice and that opportunity. So if you've only bought one of these, I want to know what the impetus was for you buying it. Even if that impetus was just, I bought the Aeon Pro X because it was first, and then I didn't feel the need to buy anything else within that similar vein. Because I think that that's also very relevant to just know that the first mover advantage is still very meaningful in that capacity. I guess we could talk about the magazines. Overbuilt, medium, poor. That won't surprise you at all. Hasbro makes really good magazines. It's just I wish it was a regular Talon. I don't know why they went with the angled Talon, especially since I know the person who designed this blaster, and a breech system like this would have been far more efficient if it was straight. Maybe they thought that the grips geometry was better through an angled mag, and you know, that's entirely possible, but given how unpopular angled Talons are in the hobby at large versus the regular Talon, you'd think that that would have been a sacrifice we were willing to make. Who knows? All just speculation at this point. Like I said, looking forward to networking with all three of these companies at Toy Fair, getting more answers in terms of like what's coming next. It's very clear that this battle of the budgets is not over. If we're lowering the price point of things to reach this, there will be a clapback within 2025. That's not an inside tip or a hint or anything. That's just how production works. Like, there will guaranteed be an answer to the Fury from both manufacturers over the course of the next product cycle, because they kind of have to. This is a remarkably high-performing, high-value product with a lot of pieces, which is relevant to a certain kind of consumer. The fact that this comes with 40 darts is not a mistake. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. Clearly, the hobbyist knows that they're getting like value from the Scar and the uniform geometry of the magazine platform, as well as the stock attachment. And we could like get into the esoteric things like this is technically an M4 grip and you could replace it, but it's hard to say that people are willing to throw a $20 minimum accessory on their now $20 complete product. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but typically I don't use Anderson Manufacturing lowers when I'm building, you know, race machines. That's just fun little aside. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really, this is one where I'm trawling for feedback. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know why my glasses just fell off my head. And with that, I'll leave you to it. But classic versus video, kind of cruise into the next month. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to reading and replying to your comments. I live stream every Wednesday on Twitch. I've been playing some video games, and then we are starting our Thursday live streams in the workshop very, very soon, where we'll be dissecting some current product. Maybe even get this guy under the knife if we haven't already in last week's live stream. I don't know when this video is going live or that video is going live. Much love, Nerf on, Drac out.